Okay, we're live. This is AlliGill, AG, Mueller, She Wrote, with the breakdown. And we have a really incredible panel today, including, I think, Steve Pierson, who has just gone to get Piper, his dog, to bring in while we wait for people to load in. But Steve Pierson and Jess Craven are the hosts of There's Piper.
Here's
Hi,
Piper.
Kiki. Hi, sweetie.
In these difficult times, we all need a little puppy to start us off on in any conversation we have, I think. So
Absolutely. How old is Piper?
Piper is 5 months old, and we adopted her about a week or so ago.
Oh my goodness. Well, welcome to the family, Piper.
Thank you.
So
Right.
that's Steve Pierson, and he, together with on the other side there is Jess Craven, who writes the Substack Chopwood Carry Water. They host the Practivist pod, right, which is basically our Good Trouble segment on the Daily Beans on steroids. Like everything that you can do, practical steps that you can take to help preserve democracy. And I think, kind of we're going to sort of wait for everybody to join us. But today, what we want to talk about is like one of the biggest, coolest, most practical things that we're doing here in California, which is what's the official name of it? The Prop 50 movement.
It's, I don't know if you can see it behind me, the Election Rigging Response Act. I guess you can't really see it, but it's the Election Rigging Response Act. And, it's important that we talk about it in those terms, too, because obviously we are redistricting, but it's a temporary measure in response to the egregious partisan redistricting that Trump directed Greg Abbott and the Texas Republicans to do. So this is a response to what they are doing. It is a temporary measure. And we are literally, giving it to the voters, which is a pretty stark contrast to what the Republicans are doing. And this is about saving our democracy and leveling the playing field so that voters actually matter. So it's I'm excited about it. I'm here for it. We have to fight fire with fire. We can't unilaterally disarm. These they are going to extreme measures. Jess and I, this week's pod just came out this morning on the Practivist pod. We were talking about all the extreme measures that the Trump administration, the Trump regime, I should say, is doing because they know they're going to lose, because they know they can't win. So it's, these redistricting measures, the, bullshit executive order to try to, end vote by mail, which he can't do. All of this because we have the wind at our backs. And, I feel pretty strong, especially, when we look at the 37 out of 38 elections this year that we've overperformed in. So, but this is serious, and it's going to cost a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of volunteer power to pass this ballot measure, to educate voters who voted twice already for our, independent redistricting measure here in California. So it's going to take everyone listening and then some, and all of their friends and family to pitch in and help get this passed.
Yeah, I think you bring up really good points about it being in response to and temporary, and consent is the big word. We have consent of the voters. That's not something folks on the right are really familiar with. Jess, what are your thoughts on Prop 50 and the election rigging response?
Well, my thoughts is that it's really the only thing we can do in this situation. We have tried for years now to sort of, do the sort of Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. And what has happened as a result of that, no disrespect to Michelle Obama, who I love, and in our personal lives, that's a really great motto, but they've gone low so hard and so unimpeded that we now find ourselves in a situation where we're holding on to our democracy by a thread, if I'm being generous. And we have to fight the same way they do. And right now, they have rigged the maps in Texas. Donald Trump made a phone call and said, I want more voters because my policies suck and I'm unpopular. And this is the only way we can win the midterms. So do this for me. And he basically said, jump. And Texas Republicans said, how high? And usually Democrats would say, well, that's really bad, but we're just going to have to work harder the old-fashioned way to win voters. And finally, Gavin Newsom said, fuck that. We cannot keep fighting this way. with basically, they keep using the metaphor, and I hate to overuse it, but with one hand tied behind our back. And so we're doing what we need to do, which is a temporary redistricting. I understand that the League of Women Voters of California came out against it, which I think is incredibly unfortunate. Because they're thinking about the way things should be. And I agree. And I would remind anybody who says, oh, this is so messed up. The Democrats in Congress have voted over and over again for national independent redistricting. Over and over again, they have introduced legislation to do exactly that, to level the playing field. And Republicans have all, without exception, opposed that. So when we get that legislation, Democrats will lead the way and they'll be the first to celebrate it. But until we have it, we've got to fight back. And this will put us back in a somewhat level playing field, although Republicans are going to then go to other states and do even worse. So we're not even giving ourselves a level playing field again. We're just kind of trying to make it less uneven than it would be otherwise. It's existential, really, that this passes.
Just honestly, we aren't even making up for the already deficit that we're in because of partisan gerrymandering. We're already 7-10 behind because of partisan gerrymandering that's been going on the right for so long. I'm surprised to hear about the League of Women Voters. I think maybe something practical we can all do is perhaps write into them in California and let them know that we're kind of upset about that. And I'm being facetious when I say kind of upset about that. You brought up the point that other states could do this. I know that in the bill there was a last minute amendment in one of the pieces of legislation that passed the California Assembly that what we do here in California no longer hinges on what Texas does. So it's not a trigger law based on what Texas does. I wanted them to go for all 9 seats just because I don't know, I'm kind of extreme of the go for all 9 instead of just 5. I'm kind of like, don't meet them seat for seat. We're already 7-10 down, like not seats, but points. Like, why don't we in the general ballot? Why don't we just go all out? And my concern is if other states, red states, Indiana, Ohio, Missouri, if they do this and get another 6 or 7 or 8 seats, can we make those up anywhere else? Is there anything in our laws that we just passed that is in Prop 50 that allow us to change the maps that they handed in and add more seats, or are we stuck at 5? And then how can we make that up? I know Illinois is talking about it and Governor Pritzker's talking about it. I don't know how many seats they can make up there. I know Kathy Hochul wants to, but I don't think she can until 2028 because the way their constitution is written, but I'm also not sure on that. So I'm looking for some clarification from our party leadership about that contingency plan, about what happens if other seats come online. I know we're doing what we can do here in California, but what do we do if they find another 10 seats somewhere else? I mean, besides just kick their fucking asses with a 45-seat win like we did in 2018. But this really should be a level playing field regardless.
I agree. I mean, I can answer a couple of those things. I can't speak to what New York or Maryland or Illinois or any other states can do, but they're certainly going to. They're looking at it now because the response from red states will be the same. This particular legislation, this ballot measure, is putting these maps that have been created to the voters, so they can't change. So there's no, the voters are going to approve these maps, and that's going to be it. Importantly, till 2030, right? So they're temporary, but not just for this election, for the presidential and then the next midterms as well, which is really important. And then, other Democratic states, I can't really speak to what's in their constitution because I don't know, but I'll just go with the third part. We got to kick their asses. I think that what I've been very encouraged about, Jess and I both have, seeing the kind of engagement we've had in these early elections, these bellwethers that show how, awake people are, how involved they are, all the work they're doing on the ground, knocking on doors, making phone calls, raising dough for these candidates. We have to start now because the Republicans, they have the oligarchs. We beat them, by the way. This might surprise a lot of listeners. We beat Republicans when it comes to the volume of donors, to grassroots donors. We killed them. There's so many more of us than there are of them. But obviously they have oligarchs like Elon Musk and these super PACs that can funnel, pretty much limitless money into these campaigns, and they do. So, the answer is we've got to get Prop 50 passed. We've got to level the playing field the best we can in all these states. We're going to fight with every tactic that the Republicans use because, like Jess said, we're not going to do it with one hand tied behind our back. And we've got to organize, raise money, knock on doors, start early. It feels like it's early right now. It's really not. And make sure that we absolutely blow them out.
Yeah, and I think, Jess, people are showing that people power can beat money power. Grassroots organizing can beat money power. I'm thinking of the Wisconsin Supreme Court race where Elon came in and dropped 25 million, and the people said, "Nope, no sir," and won. I'm thinking of Mamdani, where he is facing incredible odds and donations from, corporate landlords and everybody who doesn't want him to freeze rent and business interests and is still blowing everybody away. And we just had the Iowa seat. We make a 22-point swing in that Iowa State House, and we took away their supermajority in the Iowa Senate, the Iowa State Senate. That's huge, and that's the second time we've done a flip like that in Iowa since Donald Trump took office. So I'm hoping for that big win, back to the old too big to rig, vote in numbers too big to manipulate, et cetera. But I am also very supportive of evening the playing field. But Jess, what are your thoughts about what we're seeing in these off year? There's really no such thing as an off year anymore, but these off year elections.
Oh, I have thoughts. I mean, first of all, I just want to say, Republicans are apparently going to spend a minimum of $100 million on this race, trying to kill Proposition 50. So that just goes to show how important they know it is and how much they kind of look down on voters. Just like we're just going to pour a bunch of money into it and lie to them about a bunch of stuff, and then we'll win because money always wins. And what voters have been showing them over and over again recently is that money doesn't always win. And as the famous Heather Booth, wonderful lifelong activist Heather Booth says, the many are more powerful than the money. It's really important for us to remember that. What we are seeing, as you guys have both talked about over and over again, are these crazy special election wins. And I'll tell you what I think. I know that we don't want to have to rely on giant wave elections to overcome Republican corrupt actions, but I am telling you, we are going to blow them away next year. We are going to blow them away. It is, yes, I mean, I really want us to have a level playing field going in, and I think we should fight every single one of these battles. I think Maryland should get involved. I think Illinois should get involved. I think New York State should get involved. But in the end, they can't stop the amount of rage that Americans feel right now towards the Republican Party. They can cheat every way they want. I'm not saying, look, they could decide to just not have elections at all, although I think that's much easier said than done. But the voters are pissed. We saw it in Iowa. We saw it in Iowa back in, what was that, right after Trump's term started? Yeah, we saw it in Pennsylvania. We saw it in Florida, where we didn't win those seats, but we overperformed by, 21 points there, too.
Yeah.
Voters are unhappy. And so I think we do both. We multitask. We fight on the playing field that Republicans are insisting on fighting on, but we also turn out our volunteers, we turn out our voters, and we win the old-fashioned way by having better candidates, having better policies, and getting a volunteer crew that is massive. I mean, we saw in Iowa that she had hundreds of people knocking doors for her. That was a good old-fashioned grassroots effort coupled with a great candidate. And then you couple that with the fact that Americans are disgusted by what Republicans are doing right now. So, I hate to watch them do what they're doing, but I still believe we can win.
I do too. And before we started talking about before Texas did what it did and before California came up with Prop 50 in response, us, Practivist Pod and MSW Media had put together what's called the California Victory Fund, which was, there's a whole 3 to win. It's a very narrow margin in the House. And in fact, the elections in California by themselves could get the House back. from the Republicans and from Republican control. So I want to talk about what it means to get the House back and why it's important and how it can stymie what's going on in this administration. But I want to talk about our pivot with the California Victory Fund, because it was what we did in 2018 and what we did in 2020, where MSW Media, Practivist Pod, we raised money and we used data and maths, right, to be able to find out where the money would have you get the most bang for your buck. And it was just this very cool, like, mathematical equation that's way beyond my comprehension. But it would say your dollar is best in California 48 right at this minute, like, 'cause the data would update every so often. So we were already doing that to preserve the swing districts that we hold and to flip the red districts that, Kamala outperformed in 2024, or that Biden outperformed in, or that are very close. And they happen to be like the same districts that we're that we're redrawing right now and shoring up with these new maps. But let's talk about the pivot of the California Victory Fund. What is it now, and where's that money go?
Well, like that math got a little bit more complicated because we really need to do two things. So let me talk about the Victory Fund as it is, because like you said, it's all three of us all the time I'm getting hit up by donors all the time. Where is my money going to make the biggest impact? And it happens to be right here in our home state of California. We have the biggest impact on the midterm elections. And the other thing is, we get treated like an ATM machine a lot here in California because we're a blue state, and we really need people to invest in these races and invest in this. So we put together our fund, which includes 4 frontliners. That's Adam Gray, George Whitesides, Derek Tran, and Dave Menn. And then our 3 flippable districts, the 3 people that we want to get out of there, that's the David Valadeo, Young Kim, and Ken Calvert seats. And what we do is we bundle those together. For the flippable ones, we have nominee funds. So we raise money now for whoever makes it through the primary. So we're not getting involved in the primary, but when the Democrats are done beating up on each other and spending all their money, we can hand them a big check to get them started. So this is a really impactful fund. It remains that way. What we have to do now is be prepared to adjust for the new maps, which likely will mean that all 4 of those frontliners stay on the fund. And then we add 2 different, it'll be the new CA 22, I believe, and CA 48, which will be Daryl Issa. We can get him out of there.
We've been trying to get him out of Congress since he was in 47, I think.
I know, we got him out in 18. That was so fun. I can't wait to do it again. But the tricky part is, we have to make sure that that Prop 50 passes, and we can't just push pause on the work we're doing raising money for these candidates until that happens. So, we have kind of both contingencies going. If Prop 50 doesn't pass, then the money we raise into this fund is going to be even more important, right? Supporting these races is going to be, existential. So, so that's what we're doing. And like, I've loved partnering with you on it, Allison. We did a really fun live show, How We Win Live, raising money for our previous collabs.
Oh, man, we had Kathy Griffin, Brian Tyler Cohen. We had
Midas Touch guys.
The Midas Fellows. Yeah.
Angela.
Now they're all like super big and probably like too cool to hang out with us again. But
they might be too cool, but I'll bet you we can goad them into doing another live show with us. So
that would be fun. That would be great. Now, Jess, what do you think of the pivot? And I mean, I guess what it sounds like is if Prop 50 doesn't pass, we'll just do what we were going to do in the first place. But if it does, then we add those 2 additional districts, 22 and 48, and help fund them as well. I just hosted a panel with the candidates running against Daryl Issa in the 48th, and it was a very productive panel. We had a lot of people there. There are a lot of people. We've done some empty chair town halls there in the 48th, and the people there are really riled up. They're really upset. And what I'm noticing, and I don't know if you've noticed this too, Jess, the thing that people are most upset about in these swing districts on both sides of the aisle is ICE coming in and snatching up their neighbors and their friends and their coworkers. And it's like most of the questions we get in these town halls is about what people can do to push back on that. And I'm always like, well, elect Democrats. But in the meantime, because 2026 is a ways away. And that's what I love about Prop 50. It gives us something here in California and around the nation to do, because everyone's been like, we can't wait till 2026. We can't wait. We can't wait. We have to do something now. And this is something now. This is an actionable thing that I think people are really fired up about. I think it's plus 22 in the polls here in California. So talk a little bit about that, because I know with chop wood, carry water, it's like we have to have things to do. So what are some of the things that people can do to help out here in California to get these maps passed?
Well, there's all kinds of organizations doing phone banking, doing postcarding, doing door knocking. So I would go to the official website and click volunteer. But also, a lot of it is just talking to your friends and family. If you live in California, or if you don't, talking to people you know who do live there. The great thing about California is that every voter who's registered is going to get a vote by mail ballot. One thing you can do is check your registration and make sure that you're registered. I think there is same-day registration, but if you want to make your process easy, I think you want to check by October 20th. Talk to people, help them understand why this is so important, why there is so much misinformation out there. And again, like what I keep telling people to do is just tell people Republicans are spending over $100 million to try to defeat this ballot measure. Donald Trump wants this ballot measure defeated. That's really all you need to tell people, because Donald Trump is, contrary to his bullshit, he's wildly unpopular. His approval ratings are historically low. His approval ratings are historically low across the board. And yeah, ICE and deportations, particularly in California, where we all know people who have been affected. We see this happening in our communities. People are traumatized and they're upset. This is something you can concretely do. And let me tell you guys, in a larger scale, November, we have lots of important elections, right? We have this one here. We have New Jersey. We have Virginia. We have the New York mayoral. Everybody who is upset about what is happening, it is not a moment where you can say, oh, well, there's nothing we can do. No, there is. Winning these elections everywhere is monumentally important. It is important to show the Trump administration that the voters hate them. It is important to get more Democratic power in states.
Momentum,
it is important that momentum, morale. It is so important. So if you're upset about what's happening right now, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it is your moral duty. It is your duty as a patriot to get involved, to write a couple postcards. Those are less effective than making phone calls. That's less effective than going out and knocking doors, talking to the people you know, getting out of your comfort zone. Because you know who's really uncomfortable? The people being targeted by ICE right now. The people who are about to lose their health insurance. The people who are losing their education. Right? We could go on. Our Social Security data was just breached. 300 million Americans' data was just exposed because of Doge. We're barely even hearing about it. Massive security breach. These are the things. Channel your anger about these things into making sure these elections are successful. All of them.
Yeah. Pick an election. Pick an election. Adopt an election. And
adopt a race.
You can help from wherever you are. You don't have to be a Californian to help on Prop 50. You don't have to be a New Yorker to help in the mayoral. You don't have to be, pick a race and do something, right? Like hashtag do something. And also if you're in California, anywhere actually, and you have mail-in voting, please, I highly recommend you get your your ballot in the mail early. I don't know what Donald Trump is going to do with the mail in these elections, but he's against vote by mail. He's coming out against vote by mail. It's going to be interesting to see how the Republicans in Congress, who actually have to get elected again, deal with that, because they were really upset when he started saying don't vote by mail in 2020. In 2024, they were like, stop it, shut up, that's how we win. Because a lot of these guys rely on mail-in voting on the Republican side too. Yes, it disproportionately impacts Democrats, but still. So make sure you don't mail it on the last day. Get it done early, mail it early. I'm concerned about the mail. And you said the official website for Prop 50. What is it?
Oh, that's a great question. I should have handy here. Let me.
I'm going to have Steve Google it while I just say one more thing about early voting and vote by mail. This is true for all elections, you guys. This is a hack. It's really important to know and spread to other people is that when you vote early, not only is it good to just get your vote in, you're helping the campaign. Because remember, the campaign is doing all of its voter outreach based on the voter rolls, who has and has not voted. And those lists get refreshed every day. So as you vote and your vote is tabulated, your name comes off of those lists and they can focus all of their energy and get out the vote energy on the people who are left on the list. So as our reliable voters vote and vote early, they come off of the list and all of the volunteers get to focus on the people who are less tuned in, less likely to get out and vote, more misinformed. So it's a huge way to help in any race. Vote early and let those campaign resources go to the voters that are harder to turn out. I always vote on the first day of early voting for that reason.
It's a great point, and it's also something that we tell people when they are tired of getting phone calls, and
Right.
tired of getting stuff. It's like, get your vote in, and you'll come off the list. Once that's it, we'll stop harassing you. So,
It's true. It's true. That is actually true too.
yeah. So it's act act.gavinnewsom.com. That is the official place to volunteer for Prop 50. You can also do it through the California Democratic Party. Like, there's a ton of groups, like Jess said, that are doing this. And what's really cool about this coalition that the Prop 50 campaign has built is that they're using the same universe. They're sharing, when we talk about, Jess was just talking about the universe, they're sharing the same data and the same accounts in the same universe, so that all of these different coalition groups that are sending people to volunteer aren't like duplicating efforts or going to the different places and everything. It's a really coordinated effort. But the official place is act.gavinnewsom.com.
Now, what is the connection with the NDRC, the National Democratic Redistricting Committee? This is an Obama holder joint, right? That's democraticredistricting.com or nrdc.org. What's is that more of a national effort versus what's going on in California?
I can speak to that if you want. I actually just interviewed the president of the NRDC a couple of weeks ago. Brilliant guy. They are a national organization that is actually focused on fair maps, on fair redistricting, and who have advocated very, very strongly for fair maps and independent redistricting. But that is what they're doing now, is they are supporting this situation because, again, for obvious reasons, this is an exceptional situation. But they're actually great. Eric Holder started it. And I highly recommend following them, subscribing for their newsletter. They're doing very important work. Their whole thing is fair maps. That's their whole
amazing.
thing.
So that's kind of an umbrella, like forever thing.
Yeah. But it speaks volumes, again, to the whole point of this, and where Democrats want fair maps. Democrats want to pass legislation that creates independent redistricting committees. And the actual biggest Democratic, well, they're technically nonpartisan, but entity to make this national is supporting what we're doing here in California, because they know how important it is that we try to level the playing field against the Republicans' rigging. So,
yeah, very, very good point. And another thing that you can bring up to people who might be on the fence or skeptical about our redistricting response is that, well, I don't like gerrymandering. Nobody likes it, right? And we actually, during the Biden administration, tried to pass a law nationwide that would stop gerrymandering, and every single Republican voted against it. So where are their, because they know if the maps are fair, they're going to get their butts kicked. And couple that with what you keep saying, Jess, over and over again. Trump and the Trump regime are spending $100 million to defeat this. Forever, I've said, people who say, my vote doesn't matter. I would say the oligarchs would not be spending billions of dollars to make you think your vote didn't matter if it didn't. So it does. And there's a lot of power there. And so I really appreciate y'all joining me today. Definitely subscribe to Chop Wood, Carry Water with Jess Craven if you haven't. You can also follow Steve Pierson on Sub. What's your Substack called, Steve? Is it The Practivist?
But the Practivist pod is the main one. I have my own personal one, and but I'm not terribly active on there. I will be. I'll share some Piper videos. I'll put my puppy on there for some emotional support.
Piper for 50, right? Piper for
yeah.
Prop 50. Do it. Make her the mascot. She's adorable. And by the way, kind of calm for a puppy. I'm very impressed. And you can also follow and subscribe to me. I'm The Breakdown or Muller She Wrote or whatever. I mean, you can find me however you want. And all my content is free always. So I hope you sign up. And I will just want to thank you again for joining us today here on The Breakdown to explain this and where people can get involved and where people can help. Does anybody have any final words, thoughts to share?
Thanks for having me. If you guys subscribe to my newsletter, I'll be putting lots and lots of ways you can get involved in this race. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'll just say we started the Practivist pod to the practice of activism made practical, to really give people ways to make an impact. And when I first started doing this work, I thought, what can I do? What can one person do? And what I found is there's so much we can do. And, you don't understand the impact you have when you just get out of your comfort zone a little bit and take action. We are like ripples on a pond. We don't always get to see the results of what we do, but we make a big impact. So thank you, everybody, for everything that you do, and keep at it.
Yeah, and it feels good. If you want to feel good for a minute amid all this insanity, it's a good way to just sort of refuel your tank. So, thank you, everybody, and we'll see. I'm sure we'll get back together again as November approaches. And my brain is stuck in 1996, I think, because I'm like, oh, great, November, we have plenty of time. It's like 2 months away.
Yeah, and ballots drop sooner too. So yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.